My name is Kavitha Melwani, and I am a multi-certified intuitive success coach. I want to personally welcome you to Aligned and Soulful Success, where we empower soulful empaths, sensitives, and conscious leaders to confidently align with their purpose and opulently shine their light without the hustle. Together, we will explore challenges and real implementable solutions so you can step into your unique purpose and shine. It is possible to bridge the success that you already have with the truest, soulful, mystical parts of yourself. Are you ready to rise up? Then listen in. Welcome to this week's episode of Aligned and Soulful Success. And this is almost the last episode in the series on empathic entrepreneurial success. And today I want to talk about actually what is success, what is an empath, and why having a defined definition of success is important. So if you have been feeling less than, comparing yourself and not feeling like you're successful or not reaching your goals, then you will receive some insight and wisdom from this episode. So first, I've been asked this question really often, and so I want to address it first. So what is an empath exactly? So I have a full episode that talks about what is an HSP and what is an empath. And so I will have the link to that episode available in the show notes. But essentially, an empath is a person that feels things at a deeper level. And they may feel other people's energy. And Dr. Judith Orloff talks about many different types of empaths, and I will also have a link to that book and resource in the show notes as well. But she also talks about the mirror neurons, which I discussed in last week's episode, or actually 2 weeks ago, and how empaths seem to have maybe more refined mirror neurons, where we can mirror the people that are around us. So that's just a really brief explanation. I don't want this to be completely about that. So you can check out that episode where I go more into detail, and I'm going to continue to add more snippets of ways that you may show up if you're an empath in following episodes. So hopefully that will also be helpful. And if you have questions and just wondering, should I consider myself an empath? Am I an empath? There are assessments out there, and there's self-assessments. Okay, so that's a possibility. And the idea is, if you consider yourself this, then you are. So if you feel empathic, you're feeling like you can sense things at a level that maybe others can't. And there was a time I remember where I used to think that everybody felt that way, but not everybody does, right? So just trust yourself in the process. If you want to talk about that, if you have questions, you can always contact me. Just email me. My contact connection form is in the show notes as well. And so just ask me a question, right? Just ask me. I'd love to hear from you. So then, going back to success, why is it important to have a definition of success? Well, first of all, if you don't have a conscious definition of success, it will be defined by your subconscious conditioning and programming. And so your subconscious conditioning and programming, especially if you are an empath or sensitive soul, may have been inputted with information telling you that you are not enough, that you don't measure up, and that somehow you need to be different to fit into the world. Because most of the world is not empathic. They may have empathic traits and have the ability to be empathic, but they're not empaths, right? And so the world is really made for the rest, and that's okay. It's just that when you compare yourself to that, then you can automatically feel less than. So if you have just been moving in the world, working really hard, just doing what everybody else is doing and not reaching your level of success, could be your subconscious mind contributing to this. I mean, it is said that our subconscious mind contributes 90% of our behavior, contributes to 90% of our actions. So yeah, it's in your subconscious mind. So working with the subconscious mind is really important. It does take time, and I will say I still work with mentors and coaches and always see myself doing that as long as I will be a coach, and maybe even beyond that, who knows, right? But I have the intention that I know that there are blind spots that I have that I can't see, and a coach and mentor who has my best interest at heart will be able to see those and help me through them. And working with the subconscious mind is particularly one of those things that is particularly more difficult to do on your own, right? So that's why I continue that process. And that's why I went through the Jungian coaching certification, and I'm now, in the level 3 program, because I believe that this work will really get to the deep level of what's happening. And through that process, I uncovered so much about my own subconscious mind, right? And what has been my definition of success that was defaulted, right? And that, it still comes up and rises up. And now I can work through that, and I can work through with my mentors and coaches. So one of the things, for instance, is the definition of success, right? And what does that actually mean to you? Is it a level of income? Is it a level of clients? Or is it internal in what you feel? So I've redefined that for myself, because it used to be solely based on the results and like what I am seeing externally. And that is my definition of success. And then even that, if you're not clear about, well, if you're talking about money as a gauge for success, well, how much money, right? And what does that mean? It's more, there's more depth to it than just an income goal, for instance, right? So now I do believe in setting goals as part of your definition of success, setting parameters, let's say, and I don't know, and what I would say is that I don't define that as success or not success. Okay. So having a clear definition of success can also define how you spend your time. Okay. So if you're not clear about what your definition of success is, then you will spend your time probably in a very scattered fashion, right? Not really focusing on specific things that you want to create in your life. And usually those are controlled by subconscious mind conditioning, what we see as, maybe outside of us, right? Like, so kind of bright, shiny objects and following those tracks, and continually to chase them to see if that will lead us to feeling successful. That'll lead us to feeling what we want to feel. Okay, so it's really important to know what you're working towards and what your definition of success. So you're not just looking outwards constantly and going down and chasing these objects down rabbit holes, however you want to define it. Another reason that it's important to have a clear definition of success is because when you do, it can keep you motivated. Because inevitably, as we are moving through the world and doing our work, fulfilling our purpose, and especially working as an entrepreneur, there will be challenges that you face. So how do you face those challenges? How do you have the motivation to continue to move through those challenges and keep going and not go down rabbit holes, not chase bright, shiny objects, and keep yourself present, grounded, and moving down your aligned path? That can only happen when you have a defined definition of success. That's not only a defined definition of success. I want to take this further and say, define definition of success that is in alignment with you. And when we reach these points of challenge, that is when I believe that most of us seek support, right? So we're like hitting this point of challenge, and then we go to our adaptive behavior, whatever that is, that happens when we're stressed and seeking support. So, what is it for you? Is it research? Is it copying and seeing what other people are doing? Is it asking other people what you should do? Is it just staying in confusion and indecision? Maybe it's a combination of those things, analysis paralysis. What happens when you currently reach a challenge point? Right? What is it that you do? What is your go-to? So when you have this clear definition of success, then you're able to come back to that to help you move through to the next challenge. Okay. And so I will say, when you're creating this, it's important to have not just the external, as I mentioned earlier, like the income goals, right? It's also important to have the internal goals. And actually, those are much more important, because in reality, the reason we want the external goals is because how we believe they will make us feel. So if you really ask yourself, why do I want to make this amount of money? Okay. And if it's not money, why do I want people to validate me? Or if it's the amount of clients you have, why do I want this many clients? If you really ask yourself, and you really, continue to go down that path of inquiry, it is because you want to feel a certain way. So those internal goals that you set, the internal definition of success is even more important than the external, because those checklists, the SMART goals, those are all fine, but that's just not enough to actually allow you to move past the challenges and reach your next level of success. So I know, I'll tell you what I do, right? So when I am under stress and I reach a level of challenge, one of my go-to strategies, which I don't do anymore, I've been able to catch myself now, is to just overwork, to do a bunch of more things. It's just like, let me just define it as the word more, right? So just do more. That is my go-to kind of strategy, right? So in it's not good, right? That's not the good way. And I want to say strategy not in a positive way, right? As strategy is seen, but it's how I've coped, I guess, would be the best way to put it, right? So instead of that, like doing more piece, it's important then to check in and see, well, what is this about? What is this challenge here to teach me? What is my subconscious telling me? What are some beliefs for me to work through? What are some emotions for me to work through? And bringing what's in my subconscious mind into the conscious mind so that I can move forward and work through the challenge, right? And I believe challenges are there for us. They're just showing us what we need to work on next. They're just showing us the next direction we need to go in. Okay. So going back to recap what I talked about today, first, it is really important to have a clear definition of success. If you don't, your subconscious mind will create that definition for you. Okay. And you can really look at what that is by the results that you're seeing. And as you're defining success, it's important to understand why you do what you do, right? Because otherwise, and what you're working towards, and having that internal and external aspects to the definition of success. Because when you are planning out your days or spending your time, if you don't have a definition of success, how do you know what to do? How do you know what to focus on? Right? It keeps you from chasing those bright, shiny objects. It also keeps you motivated when challenges arise, and, really going into the challenges as, what is this meant from? What is this here about? Why is this here? Excuse me. How can I work through that? And this is coming from my subconscious. This is coming from me. And if it's coming from me, then I have the power to work through it. most of our goals or all of our goals are because we want to feel a certain way, right? And so if you don't have that internal definition of what you want to feel, then it's a partial definition that you have of success. Okay, so, and then finally, in the beginning of the episode, I talked a little bit about defining what an empath actually is. So here's the deal. Even if you're not an empath and you don't define yourself as a sensitive person, if you're conscious and you want to live consciously, what I'm talking about today applies to you as well. And so if you got to this part of the episode, thank you for listening. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you being open to learning and growing, because as you learn and grow, the world is going to be a better place. So until next time, take good care. Bye. Thank you for joining us for Aligned and Soulful Podcast. To view the show notes and all the links that I mentioned in today's episode, please visit alignedandsoulfulpodcast.com. That's also where you can download my free gift, which is an abundance visualization and exercise to help you unlock your abundance. And so also before you go, make sure you subscribe to the podcast so that you can receive new episodes right when they're released. You can subscribe right now in the app that you're listening to this podcast on. And thank you again for joining me for Aligned and Soulful. This is Kavita Milwani. I will see you next time. Until then, take good care. Bye.